talk about the doctor protest in South Korea. It's been 2 weeks since all this began. In a package of policy plans to improve medical services, the South Korean government said it will increase the number of new medical students by 10,000 in 5 years, a 65% increase starting from 2025.
의료 서비스의 수요는 빠르게 증가하고 있습니다만 공급이 수요를 따라가지 못하고 있습니다.
South Korea has one of the lowest doctor-to-patient ratios among developed countries. There are only 2.6 doctors for every 1,000 patients in the country, far below the average of 3.7 for countries in the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Some doctors say the real issue is pay and working conditions, not the number of physicians. Although doctor salaries in South Korea are relatively high, some argue that they are always overworked.
저희 기본적으로 100시간 이상 근무합니다.
Trainee doctors usually work over 100 hours per week. We earn around 2 million won or $1,500 to 4 million won, about $3,000 per month, not tens of millions of won.
一个美国的医生
Doctors in the United States work dozens of hours a week.
Their South Korean counterparts do 10 times of that.
At this point, our goal is to make the government realize it's a wrong policy and urge them to start the dialogue.
That's where the doctors' walkout started.
在韩国的话，就是它这个市场非常畸形。
The healthcare market in South Korea is abnormal. Private hospitals dominate the market. Without sufficient public hospitals, the government now wants to move their cheese.
Around 3/4 of the country's junior doctors have walked out of their jobs so far, causing disruption and delays to surgeries at major hospitals. Due to large-scale exodus of trainee doctors, university hospitals are now reducing the total number of surgeries by 30% to 50%. Concerns grew among South Korean patients as emergency departments at 3 of the country's biggest hospitals are on red alert.
환자분들이 급한 환자분들 수술해야 되고
Urgent patients need surgery. There are emergency patients' lives hanging in the balance. This isn't a railroad strike. It's about holding lives as collateral.
이거는 생명을 담보로 잡는 거 아니겠어요?
The standoff is intense as both sides are playing hardball. On March 1st, police conducted a seizure and search on leaders of the protesting doctors as they refused to return to work by the Thursday deadline set by the government. While many doctors are struggling to convince the public that more doctors would be a bad thing, many South Koreans support the plan.
It's to protect their profit, but you can't take patients hostage. The government must strengthen its resolve.
A recent Gallup Korea poll showed about 76% of the respondents approved of the plan. As the general election is approaching, some doctors say it's a sensitive time for medical reform.
马上就要进行国会选举的时候
To win in the April general election, President Yoon wants to cover up his scandals and shift the focus on medical reform.
摆脱这个尹锡悦面临的丑闻的问题。
Another separate opinion poll by Realmeter released on Monday showed that the approval rating of President Yoon had risen to 41%. It is the first time in 8 months that it has crossed the 40% level.
这个时候碰触成功的话
If the government could win the battle this time, popular approval rating will go up sharply.
Amid the economic downturn, experts say South Korea is facing many social problems, apart from medical care. In education, South Korean students are stressed over the college entrance exam. In workforce, the country has recorded the world's lowest fertility rate in 2022. In gender equality, South Korea is still a male-dominated society. That's why experts believe South Korea is rushing towards deep reforms.
医疗这个领域，毫无疑问，他选的是非常好的一个点。
Choosing the medical sector to start reforms is smart. The harsh and tough stance is quite opposite to the one taken by previous governments. This is what people want to see.
The dispute seems to have become an almost endless loop now, and diverse guesses about the final outcome are emerging.
90%-80%的医生都罢工的时候，
There's no room for a free reform. Doctors need compensation. If most doctors walk out, the shortage of doctors worsens. I think the government has a scant chance to win this battle.
我觉得有信心。
I'm confident that the government will win the battle if the reform could benefit young trainee doctors more. It will be a win-win. President Yoon will continue to promote medical reform if he wins the election, and doctors' appeals will be heard more.
Well, it is still unclear that how the current deadlock will be broken. But what we do know is that until that happens, patients are suffering and paying a high price.